Now to an author who is challenging long-held beliefs that males in the animal kingdom are the drivers of evolution through competition, sexual strategy, and politics. Author and zoologist Lucy Cooke is here to push back against those ideas and give us a dynamic look at the reality behind sex and gender roles in her book on the female species. Lucy, welcome to the show. So I omitted the first word of the title. I'll let you say the title of the book and let our viewers know.
It's called Bitch on the Female of the Species.
There we go. Let's start off with the idea of male versus female in the animal world. You make a distinction between sex and gender. Explain the difference.
Yes, it's really important not to confuse the terms. Most scientists agree that animals don't have gender. It's a human construct, basically. So when I talk about females, I'm talking about biological sex.
But some would say they have the different body parts, right, that would correspond as we describe in male or female.
Yeah, biological sex is defined by whether you produce egg or sperm. So when I say female, I'm referring to an animal that produces eggs.
Got it. How has science gotten this so wrong for centuries?
Well, it started with Charles Darwin, in fact, who's a hero of mine as an evolutionary biologist. And he was an amazing, meticulous scientist, but he was also a man of his time. And that time was the Victorian era, a time when females didn't have a lot of agency. And so when he came to define the sexes, he basically drew the female of the species in the shape of a Victorian housewife. And what's really fascinating is that somebody who's as brilliant a scientist as Darwin isn't immune to cultural bias.
I can just imagine that some viewers at home are saying, you know, why does this distinction matter? Why do we care?
Well, it's, you know, we care because, you know, these stereotypes that were sort of born out of Victorian misogyny, that females are passive, coy, chaste, and that males are the active, dominant drivers of change. You know, they're simply not true. What was incubated in Victorian misogyny gets you know, spat out at humans. So, you know, I think it's very important that we understand the animal kingdom properly.
How did you first realize that scientists had gotten sex and gender so wrong?
Well, it was funny, actually. It was about, because I studied zoology myself about 30 years ago at Oxford under Richard Dawkins, a very famous evolutionary biologist. And I was taught these stereotypes that females are chaste and males are promiscuous. And about sort of 15 years ago, I was in the Serengeti and I was doing an experiment on lion communication. And involved playing the sound of a lion's roar into another lion's territory out of a small speaker. And basically I ended up roaring so loudly I stole a lion's girlfriend, which was not what I expected to happen. So basically, our lion's roar attracted 3 lions, 2 males and a female. The female pinned us to the spot for 2 hours, and I just wondered what was going on. And the expert that I was with at the time said, "Oh, she wants to mate with us." And he explained that female lioness is extremely promiscuous and mates with up to 100 males while she's in estrus, when she's in heat. And I was really shocked because that wasn't what I was taught at university. And so I discovered that actually she's doing it in order to be a good mum, because actually she's confusing paternity, because male lions are infanticidal, and by mating with all the lions in the area, she's able to prevent that from happening.
And you talk about sex being a spectrum. What do you mean by that?
Well, the manifestation of sex is incredibly complex, and is really there's a spectrum of bodies, brains, and behaviours. And you know, you have animals, you know, that are, you know, they produce both sperm and eggs, and you know, there are plenty of animals that change sex, for example, and that's of where you see the complexity and the plasticity of sex, and why these stereotypes are so ridiculous. So take, for example, the anemone fish. And you have a male and a female, and the female is dominant. But if you remove the dominant female, then the male turns into a female. And that transition, what's really fascinating about it and shows the complexity of sex, is that the transition happens first in the animal's brain, and the fish starts behaving as a female and is recognized as a female, but its gonads take up to a year to catch up and they remain male. So there you see that the fish's sexual identity and its sexuality and its sex behavior are female, but its biological sex are still male. So that gives you an idea of the complexity of sex in nature.
That is just fascinating. I had never heard of that before. So give us a sense of what the answer is. How do we get scientists to represent sex more accurately in the future?
Well, the short answer is diversity. That's what we need. It was females coming into science and having the same education as men and asking questions from a female perspective that have sparked this revolution. But really what we need is diversity in terms of cultures, genders, and sexualities in order to ask questions from many different perspectives so that we appreciate the full diversity of the animal kingdom.
Lucy Cooke, what an enlightened conversation here. We thank you so much for joining us. You can buy her book. It is available now wherever books are sold.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.